Algebra 1, Sensei Learning System, Lesson 17. In this lesson, we'll be learning how to factor into two polynomials. Now, factoring is the reversing of FOIL, which is a distributive property. So let's review a little bit of a FOIL, distributive property. We'll multiply the first here, we'll get 3x to the second power. We'll multiply the outside here, we'll get 6x. Multiplying the inside, we get 1x, and multiplying the outside terms, we get 2. Collecting the like terms in the middle will give us 3x squared plus 7x plus 2. On the next problem, when we multiply the outside terms, we'll get 3x to the second power. Multiplying 3x times 1 gives us 3x. Multiplying the inside terms, negative 2 times x gives us negative 2x. And multiplying the last terms, negative 2 times 1 gives us negative 2. Combining like terms gives us 3x squared plus 1x minus 2. On number 3, when we multiply the outside terms, we'll get 6x to the second power. Multiplying the outside terms, positive 3 times negative 5 gives us negative 15x. Multiplying the inside terms gives us positive 2x, and multiplying the last terms gives us negative 5. Combining the two terms in between, the common factors of the x, or common terms x, we get 6x squared minus 13x minus 5. Here, when we multiply the outside terms, we do get 6x squared. And multiplying multiplying the first terms, we do get 6x squared. Now, multiplying the outside terms, we get negative 3x. Multiplying the inside terms, we get negative 10x. And multiplying the last terms, negative 5 times negative 1, we get positive 5. When we combine the x terms, the negative 3x and negative 10x, we get negative 13x plus 5. From there, we're going to go to number 5. We're going to multiply the outside terms of 5x times an x. That'll give us 5x to the second power. Multiplying the outside terms, a 5x times negative 3 gives us negative 15x. Multiplying the inside terms of 2 times x gives us positive 2x. And multiplying the last terms, positive 2 times negative 6 gives us positive 2 times negative 3 gives us negative 6. Now, we're going to combine the negative 15x and the positive 2x. We'll get negative 13x minus 6. And lastly, our 5x times x will give us 5x squared. Multiplying our outside terms, 5x times negative 2 gives us negative 10x. Multiplying inside terms, we get negative 3 times x, that's negative 3x. And finally, negative 3 times negative 2 will give us our positive 6. Now, combining like terms, we get negative 10x and negative 3x gives us negative 13x plus 6. Now, let's reverse this process and factor. So here we have 3x squared plus 7x plus 2. To reverse this, I'm going to create two parentheses. And then I'm going to ask myself about the first term. 3x squared can be factored into what? And that'll be 3x times x. Then we go to our last term, 2. 2 can either be a 1 times 2 or 2 times 1. I'm going to start with 1 times 2. 1 times 2 will give us inside a 1x, and on the outside, that'll give us a 6x. This positive here tells us that the terms have to be the same, either both positive or both negative. I'm going to try both positive, and I do get 7x, and that matches the 7x here. So that'll be positive first, and then positive second. So positive here, and then positive there. And that was the original. Here, once again, factoring, I'll create my two binomials, and factor the first term, 3x squared. That'll be 3x times x. Then we'll come back here and factor the 2. That's either 1 times 2 or 2 times 1. Let's try 1 times 2. 1 times 2 is here. Then inside we'll get 1x. On the outside, we'll get 6x. Now the negative here tells us that the signs must be different. So let's try different signs. I'll try a positive and a negative. This combination gives me a negative 5x, which is not the same thing as the middle. So let me try, instead of a 1 times 2, let me try the 2 times 1. So 3x times x again, but this time 2 times 1. This gives me a 2x. On the outside, we get a 3x. And we need different signs according to the negative here. And we want a positive 1x. So I'm going to use a negative on the 2x and a positive on the 3. this combination does give me positive 1x, which matches here. So it's negative first, and then positive next. Okay, 6x squared. Okay, so 6x squared, we can factor the first term into 3x times 2x. The 5 could be 1 times 5 or 5 times 1. Let's try 1 times 5 first. Okay, inside we'll get 2x. On the outside we'll get 15x. The signs need to be different, and we need to get a negative 13x. I can make these signs different and get a negative 13x by using a positive then negative. That does make negative 13x. Therefore, positive then negative. And that's what it used to be before being factored. Okay, let's try again. On this right here, 6x squared, we'll factor that first term into 3x times 2x. That's the first term. Then we go to the last term, 5, and we have a choice of either 1 times 5 or 5 times 1. Let's try 1 times 5. 1 times 5. Inside, that'll give me 2x, and outside, that'll give me 15x. Okay. I need the same signs, and they need to give me a negative 13x. Well, if I were to use the same signs here, let's say a negative and negative, those are the same signs, that'll give me a negative 17x, so it doesn't match. So let's try again. Let's try 3x times 2x once again, but instead of 1 times 5, let's try 5 times 1. So 5 times 1, that gives me 10x, and outside that gives me 3x. Okay, again, we're looking for same signs to add together to give us a negative 13x. So if I use the same signs, negative and negative, we do get a negative 13x here. So the signs will be negative and negative. Okay, on this problem here, our first term is 5x squared. So let's factor that into 5x times x. Now there are plenty of choices for 6. There's 1 times 6, there's 2 times 3, there's 3 times 2, and there's 6 times 1. Lots of choices. I'm going to start with my 2 times 3 here. So 2 times 3. This will give me a 10x and a 15x on the outside. Oh, sorry, a 2x, my fault. That'll give me a 2x and a 15x. And the signs must be different, and we're trying to get a negative 13x. I can get that by making this 2 positive and this 15 negative. That combination will give me a negative 13x. So positive then negative, positive then negative. Right here, we'll factor this first term, 5x squared, into 5x times x. Now the 6, we have a choice of 1 times 6, 2 times 3, 3 times 2, and 6 times 1. I'm going to choose my 2 times 3. In fact, we kind of know what 2 times 3 is going to happen. Well, we'll keep going. Okay, this combination gives us 2x, and on the outside it gives us 15x. We want to use the same sign and get a negative 13x. Well, we cannot use same signs here and get a negative 13. So we're going to change this from 2 times 3 to 3 times 2. So 5x times x and 3 times 2. This will give me 3x, and this will here will give me 10x. And if I use the same signs to get negative 13x, it will be a negative and negative. That will give me negative 13x. So negative here and negative there. Now, I'm going to skip the, I'll just do 2 problems with the demonstration of foiling conjugates. If I were to multiply a conjugate, 3x times 3x gives me 9x squared. Then 3x times negative 5 gives me negative 15x. And 5 times 3x gives me positive 15x. And then 5 times negative 5 gives me negative 25. When I add the like terms here, the negative 15 to the positive 15, they'll cancel, and I'll get x squared minus 25. Now, how do you reverse this and go back to the original products, or the original binomials? Well, here's your process. You take the square root of 9x squared, which is 3x. Then we take the square root of 25, which is 5. Then we use these 2 solutions to make conjugates. 3x plus 5 and 3x minus 5. And now we return that. Here, let's do it again. The square root of the first term, 144x squared, is 12x. The square root of 49 is 7. Therefore, we can break this into conjugates of 12x plus 7 and 12x minus 7. The square root here of 16x squared is 4x. The square root of 9 is equal to 3. So what we have here are conjugates of 4x plus 3 and 4x minus 3. For this one, I'll take the square root of 169x squared, which will be 13x, and the square root of 64, which will be 8. So my factors will be 13x plus 8 and 13x minus 8. Here, I'll take the square root of x squared, which is x, and the square root of 1, which is 1. Therefore, my conjugates will be x plus 1 and x minus 1. Here, I'll take the square root of 4x squared, which is 2x, and the square root of 196, which is 14. This will give me the roots of the conjugates of 2x plus 14 and 2x minus 14. Here, I'll take the square root of 36x squared, extend that root there. That'll give me 6x. And then the square root of 81, which is 9. So as a result, I'll get 6x plus 9 and 6x minus 9. Here, the square root of 121x squared is 11x. And the square root of 100 is 10. So my factors will be 11x plus 10 and 11x minus 10.